I struggled with whether or not to put this on my main channel, but I think if you go through this article with me, you'll see why this is very important. Normally, I wouldn't respond to your general run-of-the-mill men suck in Magic article because you don't have to. You could throw a stone and read an article that says, or find an article that says, you know, there's all sorts of problems in Magic, and it's because of men. And so, you know, I put them on my second channel, usually the Unsleeved Media After Dark. But this one is particularly important because the level at which it's integrated. So on July 7th, there was an article or an interview posted from Judge Program Coordinator Riki Hayashi. Sorry if I pronounce her name wrong, bud. And I should say, nothing personal. Please don't bombard him with hate or anything. I mean, if he's open to debate, great. I tried, didn't work. I reached out to him, never had contact with him before, and no dice, pre-blocked. Not sure why that is, but who knows. And in this article, he talks about the future of the judge program, something I've openly supported. I think the judges are underpaid. I think the judges are overworked. I think they should be better taken care of. I'm on record as saying I would pay more to get into GPs if I knew it was going to the judges. Some sort of judge bonus program. I don't know. Love the judges. We cannot play our game competitively without these volunteers. However, I don't know when he took over as program coordinator, but he has some startling things to say. In his first message as the program coordinator, he cited diversity as part of the judge community that is broken. When asked to elaborate, he states that the comparison he's been making is that a lot of corporate executives and government officials, there is a gender imbalance in those fields, just as there is in judging. It's because groups in power self-select to their own norms. If you have a majority of men in power, they will tend to bring in more men to their power structure, and they won't even realize it. This is why I draw the line between diversity and representation. It's one thing for a community to be accepting of diversity, which I think is true of Magic, as well as the judge program, and another for the organization to take a long look inward and address these imbalances of representation. So what is he talking about here? He's talking about equality of outcome, not equality of opportunity. He's talking about optics. I don't care about giving you the 10 best judges for the Pro Tour. I care about four of them being men, 4 of them being women, 1 of them being gay, 1 of them being trans. That's what he's talking about. One example that crosses my interests, I'm not sure maybe that's just broken English. I don't know. I'm making an assumption. I don't know. Poor writing, maybe. Or it's correct and I just don't understand it. Is the research done on how women receive more vague feedback than men. This hurts when it comes to advancement because it's specifics that drive those interactions, both in terms of helping people to improve and to highlight strong work and makes people the candidates for advancement. So what he's talking about is if 2 people, let's say, do search engine marketing, and one is a man, he goes into his review and they say, look, you need to get better at link building. And the woman goes in and they say, you need to learn more about the search marketing, right? They don't get something specific. And maybe that's true. I think this is referring to a Stanford study that was done in like 2014 or 2016. But it sure treats women like victims too, right? I mean, is there anything stopping these women from asking, simply saying, can I get some specifics? I've led large teams in my life, 10, 15 people, more than half of them being female, and none of them had problems asking me for specifics. So if at first they're not offered specifics, it seems like you're making an assumption that without them, they have no power to ask for said specifics. He goes on later to talk about tangible changes a judge community can make to be more positive. First, call out bad behavior in person. So I read, I read so many judge discussions where people boldly claim they would have given an unsportsmanlike conduct minor for that, but then they never did it. I think this is true. And I agree with you here on judges do need to be more not heavy-handed, but they have to be more confident to call out bad behavior. I think if there are a lot of things about Magic players that you can generalize and they sound negative, but I've been playing this game since 1993. I can say this. A lot of Magic players have no idea how to act. They lack social skills. I've had many interactions with GPs with people that, it makes me shake my head. But it never bothers me because I'm just like, yo, that's not cool. Or, hey, I got to go. You've been hanging around too long. I got to go do something else or whatever. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's okay. And to quote him, he says, we need to shift our paradigm on giving unsportsmanlike conduct infraction from using it like a sledgehammer to using it like a scalpel. That one oft-forgotten piece of the USC is to help the person understand they did something wrong. I totally agree with you here. I love this direction, and I love this commentary on how the judge program should be changing. That's something I would want out of my judge coordinator, is one that can give the judges tangible ways to help people in the community. And that's about the only point I agree with him on in this article, but I'm really happy to hear that's what they're working on. Now we degrade a little bit. When he was asked about judges of less privilege, how judges of less privilege could ameliorate some of the biases that stand in their way, his response stands on his own. So I will say it sounds like this interviewer was baiting him. He asked a social justice question, and I checked his Twitter profile, and he refers to himself as a activist, like many college kids do, until they get in the real world and learn a thing or two. But organize, support each other. We are dealing with decades, if not hundreds of years of expectations and biases that have become stacked in our society against minorities. Right. He keeps saying minorities, but what he means is women, right? I'm sure of it. Very few people, especially in the judge program, so in the upper echelon, not you fucking plebs, the judges, will be explicitly racist or sexist to your face. But there are real barriers that arise out of unconscious bias. There are entire organizations built around making sure that there are enough women and minorities are interested in and apply for STEM jobs or politics. Right, this is magic. This is magic. This isn't politics. This isn't STEM. And I would argue that women certainly aren't what you call less privileged. It's appalling that you refer to women in that way. That's a very sexist thing to say. My wife is in the STEM field. She has a chemistry degree. She makes great money. Everybody that works at her lab is a woman. There's one man that works there. Now, is the numbers bear that out? No, there's fewer women in STEM than men. That doesn't mean that there's an injustice there. And if you want to look at privilege, look at the college numbers. Right now in the United States, there are more women in college than men. Millions more, not just 100. Stop at treating women like this oppressed class. That is a very sexist thing to do, in my opinion. And to imply that we're all secret sexist or racists or bigots, that's absurd. Absurd. He goes on to make a hilarious statement. Basically, what is it with the people that seem to share these opinions that always like to tokenize everybody they're trying to... It's like people like, oh, I represent people of color. I represent minorities. And then they tokenize them all the time to help prove their points. The United States has had a black president, but we haven't had a black L3 in the country since Rashad Miller, who retired from judging to get in coverage. Who cares? What does a black judge do better than a white judge? What does a male judge do better than a female judge? It doesn't matter. What we want are good judges that are available and treated right and treated fairly. Magic players don't care about if you're a man or you're a woman or who you like to go to bed with or if you identify as an androgynous tree person. We don't care. Stop saying we do. Articles like this get me so fired up because they paint Magic players as a bunch of idiots and bigots. Calming down. What people don't say is, what people will say in the comments of this video right before they unsubscribe is, dude, who cares? What's a big deal? So what? More women in Magic. What you don't get is how this paints men in the game. This paints us, male Magic players, as people that don't want women playing Magic. Are you kidding me? Not one man that I've ever played Magic with in the, 15 years I've been playing has ever said no girls allowed. Nobody cares. They care if the draft fires. Nobody cares what color their judge is. It doesn't matter. It only matters to you because you're obsessed with race and sex. He continues. He also understands, though, that the path to equality is not an easy one. Judges of less privilege need to recognize that they have existed in a system of people with more privilege. That means a few things. First, listen to people from who provide their experiences. Okay, well, let me, I want to talk to you quick. Let me just, oh, I can't. Interesting. Secondly, don't dismiss their claims, especially by providing your own counterexamples. Someone saying, I haven't seen sexism in events isn't being helpful to the discussion. It's actively harmful to the person making the claims. Bullshit. Now, if a man comes up to a male judge and says a woman grabbed his package, should his response be, well, I didn't see it? No, of course not. But what you're saying here is we're not allowed as men or as anyone who would say, who would argue that these incidents are extremely isolated. We can't, because we're hurting the person who's saying that they're happening all the time. There's a lot of money in being a victim in Magic the Gathering. I assure you. Look at some of my fellow content creators. This culture, victimization, listen and believe, leads to a terrible reputation for us Magic players. It seems like every week there's another article about women in Magic and how disgusting, sexist men are keeping them out of the game or they're harassing them. And it's always a friend of theirs who experienced this. Or it's always, you know, I heard from a friend of a friend of a friend. Now, I'm not saying it never happens, but it's not a sexism in Magic problem. It's a sexism problem. Full stop. Stop bringing your social justice into our game. It's important to believe that you can support causes that aren't your own, even if you never truly understand what it's like to have those experiences. Breaking up systems of privilege require a combination of people choosing to give up some of their privilege and people outside the system to force a change. What is he saying here? What he's saying is too many men Magic judges. At the Pro Tour, I want 4 men, 4 women, 1 dog, and a parakeet. That's what he's saying. He's not saying that the best people for the job are in place, and I have no way of knowing that. I'm not the judge program coordinator. He's not saying that. He's saying that there's too many white men. That's what he's saying. What if those 10 white men are the best candidates for the job? And you're on the Pro Tour and you get a subpar judge for more diversity. How is that going to feel? My guess is most of them will never tell you how it really feels. But I'll tell you this, it would suck if you had a judge who is less experienced, less good at their job for more diversity. Let me get something straight. White male Magic players are not privileged. They've never been privileged. Because I know the privilege of most Magic players can't even afford to buy the cards that they want to play for their deck. Many Magic players come from broken homes. Many Magic players were outcast in middle school, high school, and they turned to this game for salvation. And you're going to stick your finger in their face and tell them they're privileged? That's absurd. Magic players are certainly not privileged. I guess outside of the fact that we play an expensive cardboard game. On to the GP Milwaukee story. I was there. When I had judged GP Milwaukee last year, the weekend after the election, I mentioned that I was an immigrant, and this was still my country too. I know that when I work 80 hours a week and I get a few hours a week to play this card game, I'm always hoping that my judges will use their platform to spread their political ideologies. I mean, it's not like I can't turn on the TV, turn on the radio, read an article on the internet. You know, I can't get enough identity politics. So I really, really want my judges to abuse their platform to spread their ideologies. I'm really hoping Magic starts printing more politically motivated cards too, because, I mean, it's not like I use this game as an escape from life or anything. Whether it's 20 players or 1,000, you have the ability to open their eyes, meaning to their truth, right? Their truth. You should be careful about rambling on or being overly preachy. But if you find the right balance there, you can make a real difference in pushing the discourse forward. Let me make a correction for you. In pushing your ideology, in indoctrinating more people, because you're abusing your position of power to tell people how to think or how to feel, to make a comment about something. Even goes, every judge is a leader. Every judge has a group of players that look up to them. So spew your political opinions on them. That's what judges are there for. Telling you how to think. Let's skip down a little bit. I'm getting too worked up. He goes on to talk about possible retaliation. There's a concern that judges who call out sexism, racism, ableism, sexist, racist, homophobic, xenophobic, could be retaliated against, either verbally or by not being selected for events. Whose concern is that? I find it hard to believe that in the far left Magic the Gathering world, any judge would feel worried about being selected for a future event by calling someone sexist. Bullshit. He goes on, once the dialogue happens, oh, okay, let's have some dialogue. Oh, I can't. Okay. Blah, 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 you might not get answers you like. Maybe you aren't being selected for the events because you had a poor showing at the past event. Great. Based on merit. Love it. Not because of your orientation. Also love it. Maybe you aren't being selected for events because you have bias that you didn't even realize you carried. Ooh. Both of those can be hard to admit, but the best way is to start to talk to people about, okay, let me, no, okay, I can't. How complex is this? When judges apply to work an event, don't list their sex or gender or preferred sexual partner and just pick judges based on merit. How hard is that? So what if the top 10 all look the same? It doesn't matter because they're the best 10 for the job. If all 10 were women, who cares? I want to know that they were picked based on merit and nothing more. All I care about is them doing their judging job to the best of their ability. And that when I'm watching high-level competition like the Pro Tour, the judges are getting calls right. And they're making the right decision very consistently. And now he lets his true colors show through. My end goals include getting more women judging on the Pro Tour as Grand Prix head judges and in community positions like regional coordinator. Unfortunately, it's hard to begin to have these kinds of discussions right now due to the low number of women at L3. Did you ever consider maybe they're not interested in it? Maybe the percentage of women judges perhaps mirrors the percentage of actual competitive female Magic players. I don't know how many GPs you out there have gone to, but I've gone to 10 or more. It's about 1% of the crowd. If there's 10,000 people there, well, 1%, 5,000 people, you know, there might be 1 to 2% female. So why would you expect that to not mirror in the judge community? I mean, there's not a genital check at the front door. You know, you can buy tickets to a GP without telling them what sex you are. And these are the people that have continued to show up at the events. I don't remember seeing any signs that said no girls allowed, no female judges here, get your ovaries out of here. I've never seen any of that. So maybe it is just what it is. Not everything is a nefarious, sexist, racism thing. And when you continue to put out garbage articles like this and give garbage people who hold toxic ideas, good people that hold bad ideas and high-ranking positions, I can no longer support what's going on in the Magic judge community. And I guarantee you there are hundreds of judges that agree with me. Maybe hundreds and hundreds that don't. That I'm sure of. Maybe even more don't. But there's some minority of judges that completely agree that judging should be based on merit. It's not like women get to start the Magic game with 25 life and you get 20. Everyone is on the same playing field. So why is it different in coverage? Why is it different in judges? It shouldn't be. He needs to be concerned with... He's concerned with more women on the Pro Tour judging, not better judge coverage, not better judge compensation, not more opportunities to judge or to turn judgeships into paying gigs that they can do. None of these things. It's more women, and that's what's important. And look, ladies, the 5 ladies that are going to watch this and who aren't subscribed to an ideology, I want to play Magic with you. And I want to play Magic with your friends, male or female. I don't care. I want my draft to fire. Magic should be apolitical. It should be non-ideological. It's a game most of us use to escape all of that garbage. And when people bring it in, it paints the larger community in a terrible light. Because people who are social justice activists signal boost this sort of article. And what do they get from this? That white men are dominating everything and there needs to be a change. White men are keeping women out. White men are keeping minorities out. Now, I'm going to go out on, and I don't think I have to go on a limb here and to say that's not what he means. But that's not what people read. People read everyone's white male, no POCs, no females. This is a sausage fest. Well, it is. But that's been the natural progression of things. Get your social justice crap out of our game.